and welcome back everyone to the video series dedicated show on MTV that TJ would describe as so sick. But you know what is sickening is cutting this off in the middle of a fight and giving us a cliffhanger. That's right, The Challenge Season 37, Spies, Lies, and Allies, Episode 6, ends in 60 minutes. It's a cliffhanger. We don't get the elimination and we're cut off in the middle of a fight. But I will get into all my feelings about everything that happened in this episode, especially my disappointment in the cliffhanger as we move through this review and recap. But let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Logan going into the elimination against Gabo, winning, taking Nany as his new partner, and they are a new pairing, and then Emmy and Huey are a new pair coming into this episode of the challenge and coming back to the challenge house. Everyone is congratulating Logan. They're happy that he won. And Huey is having a conversation with Big T where he is nervous about what's to come. At the moment, him and Emmy are in the only rookie team, and that is a one-way ticket into the elimination via a house vote. We move over to Emmy, who is talking to CT, and there is a lot of positive vibes between these two. CT is really taking a liking to Emmy right now. He views her as an outcast, but she is a fighter, she is a scrapper, and he loves her mentality. Now, granted, she can't get emotional, but CT is just like smitten by Emmy as a contestant, as a player. And then on the opposite end, we have Emmy, who is really liking CT. She views him as an uncle in the game. He is always giving her advice. To me, the challenge is laying it on thick that I think that they are going to be paired up at some point with each other in this game, probably sooner rather than later. Then we move into Josh talking to Esther, and Josh is venting about Fessy making the move against Amber, where Josh sees it as a shot to his own game. If Josh is supposed to be Fessy's number one, why isn't he looking out for Josh when he says, hey, don't take a shot at Amber just yet. We're working well with each other, and I can get her to work with us. Yet Fessy does whatever he wants to do, and he is frustrated with that. We move on to a parallel conversation that is happening where Fessy is talking with Amanda, and Amanda's like, hey, why don't you go talk to Josh about the whole thing between you two, and maybe you should apologize. And Fessy's like, whoa, did I do anything wrong? Why should I apologize? And Amanda's like, maybe you did do something wrong. I loved Amanda and Esther in this moment because of their rational thinking. They're like, hey, if you have a problem with each other, but you still want to work with each other and have that bond with each other and connection, why not talk things out, smooth things over, and let's get on with the game? But neither guy at this moment seems to really want to talk to each other. We get a little fun and flirty here on the challenge when we have Kaycee taking Nany on a date, their first date ever. And Kaycee really put a lot into this date as she got a pizza that was cut into the shape of a heart. She got a lot of candy. She got chocolate covered strawberries. It was really, really nice. They wanted things to get extra romantic between them, so they decided to talk about Fessy and Josh. I'm sure they got to really relax and talk about each other once the cameras were away, but while the cameras were there, they just talked about the Josh and Fessy thing. This is the challenge being, yet again, not subtle whatsoever, laying it on extra thick that something is going to happen between Josh and Fessy this episode when you have everybody talking about them even when they're not in the conversation. So you know something's going to kick off in this episode. Speaking of Josh and romance, we get a little sneaky cam of him kissing Esther in the bedroom. This blew my mind. I was like, give me something unpredictable challenge, and they did in the form of Josh and Esther making out. I did not see that coming. I had to like adjust my eyes and rewind and make sure that I'm seeing exactly what I'm seeing, and yes, my eyes did not fail me this time. The next day, everyone dons their challenge gear, heads down to meet TJ at this week's mission, which TJ is so excited for. I mean, he calls it so sick.
So sick.
But he lets everybody know that this week's mission is called Turning Agents, where all the teams will be strapped to a roof of a car, and using the symbols on a tanker truck, they have to unlock their lockboxes. The team that can unlock both their lockboxes the quickest wins into the agency, and oh yeah, the cars are going to be drifting and driving erratically while the challengers are on the top of them, making it a bit more difficult. Now, I mentioned TJ was super excited about this mission, and when watching all the promos heading into the season, I too was excited for this mission, but as the mission went on through all the heats, I was like, okay, is there anything more than seeing this car go down this runway, do a couple of donuts, drive all the way back, do a couple of donuts, drive all the way back, do a couple of donuts? I mean, this gets as much wash, rinse, repeat as you get. I think that this was really fun if you could do it, but watching it was rather stale by the time we got to like round 3 or even round 2, in the middle of round 2. I mean, we didn't really get to see any like dexterity. We didn't get to see anybody run, get to see their skills really put to the test. Ultimately, out of the 6 missions that we've seen so far in the game, I would be ranking this one very low on the list. But let's get into all the heats, because if you did not win your one-on-one heat, you were not in the running to win the mission overall. In Heat 1, Josh and Ashley won against CT and Berna. Kaycee and Emmanuel won against Corey and Bettina. Amber and Devin won their heat against Emmy and Huey, which everybody was like, phew. Well, we have the house vote secured. Nany and Logan win their heat against Big T and Jeremiah. Fessy and Esther win against Nelson and Priscilla. And finally, Amanda and Kyle won against Ed and Tori. Once everybody was back, TJ announced that the top 3 performing teams were Josh and Ashley, Kaycee and Emmanuel, and Fessy and Esther, meaning that somebody from Big Brother is going to be in the agency. And that's when TJ announces that the winner of this mission was Kaycee and Emmanuel. And coming back to the challenge house, they are excited. They are wondering what they're going to do. Who should they take a shot at? And this is where I get a little bit frustrated, because we get a confessional from Tori saying like, I don't know what could happen. I mean, I think this game has shown us that anything could happen, but that is a bold-faced lie. I expect the house vote to be Huey and Emmy, and that 2 rookies would be sent into the elimination by this point. With stuff that happens later on this episode when Fessy puts his hands on Josh, I think there's going to be a lot of shaking up that's going to be happening in the next episode. But while watching this, and at this point, I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it that something's going to happen. And even Kaycee at one point is like, well, I wonder who's going to take the first shot in this vet truce. Fessy already took the first shot, but everybody is on this Amber hate train, which I'm totally baffled by. So they're like, Fessy didn't take a shot. That didn't happen. So I wonder who's going to take a real shot at the Vet Alliance. Again, I'll believe it when I see it. Now, I mentioned Kaycee and Emmanuel are happy with their performance in this week's mission, but on the flip side, Huey and Emmy are frustrated with how they performed in the mission this week, and they can't wait to split apart from each other. Big T is having a conversation with Jeremiah, where Jeremiah feels like, yeah, I could go into the elimination. I haven't gone in yet, and my name could be said pretty easily. He's expecting it to come, whether it be this week or sometime in the near future. In the gym, Priscilla and Esther are having a conversation with each other, and Priscilla is worried that either her and Esther could be thrown into the elimination. I mean, the only 3 rookie women that haven't seen elimination just yet is Bettina, Esther, and Priscilla, and with how everybody's positioned in the game, Priscilla thinks it could be her, but she's holding out hope that maybe something else could happen and she would not see the elimination just yet. Everyone is getting ready to go to the club and the party scene, and this is where we have Emmy, who is getting ready to perform her new song in front of everybody at the club. That's when Amanda, Nany, and Ashley's room, which Amanda deems the Satan sisters, want to give Emmy a little bit of a makeover, so we have an Emmy's All That moment. Ashley gives her this beautiful red dress to wear at the club, and so when we're at the club, this is like the Emmy show. Emmy gets on the stage, she gets a beautiful introduction by CT, and then Emmy gets to sing her new song, Alien, which is out on Spotify and everywhere. I'm not going to sing it here because it's Emmy's song, and I don't necessarily know it. Also, I'm not that good of a singer, so I'm not going to sing it, but she sings it in front of everybody, a cappella style, which props to her. She does a pretty good job as well. Then after that, Josh and Esther are making out. Fessy sees this, takes some notes, and is like, things are getting messy. You think? And Amber voices her frustrations to Emmanuel about the whole Fessy blindsiding situation. She's frustrated. Emmanuel's like, well, you should probably talk to him. But Fessy is on this thing of like, well, we're never going to trust each other, so why talk things out? Why fix something that's broke? That's Fessy's motto. We get the scene of Esther and Berna, and they're just calling Amber fake. They're just like attacking Amber from the back of the room, being like, I can't believe Amber. She's fake. She's annoying. Nobody likes her. She's probably going to be sent into the elimination. But this is like a running theme as we move to the end of the episode. Let's move back to the challenge house where everybody's making pizzas. We've had Pizzagate 1, we've had Pizzagate 2, and dare I say, could we have a Pizzagate 3.0? Everybody's tipsy, everybody's eating pizza. Amber is frustrated because somebody took her pizza out of the oven and started eating it. That's when Tori and Corey want to stir the pot because they're bored and nothing's happening. If the people inside the game are bored, what do you think we are? But they stir the pot and Tori is like, hey, Fessy ate your pizza. Amber comes over to confront Fessy, and Fessy's like, I did not eat your pizza. They're just trying to throw some shade and fire at me, but I have some secrets that I could say, but I'm gonna leave it at I did not eat your pizza. And that's when Amber's like, well, let's talk things out then. Let's talk it out. Why'd you blindside me? So she's now confronting Fessy about the blindside incident, and this is where we see like a confessional from Big T pretending to sleep and then being like, whoa, is Amber still talking about being blindsided? Oh, why would she still be mad at that? Esther then screams at the top of her lungs to get everybody's attention, and then she's yelling at Amber for saying, you did know you were going to go into the elimination, and Amber's like, I didn't know though, that's the thing. Fessy then says, I told everybody in the whole house knew you were going into the elimination. I just didn't tell you. And Amber's like, yeah, and that's the problem I have. And this is where like you see Corey just be the ultimate hype man in this fight. Like everybody in this house is instigating this fight, wants this fight to happen, putting pizzas in between Josh and Fessy while they're fighting. Nelson is like eating a giant slice of pizza right next to Fessy while he's yelling at Josh. Esther is throwing a drink in Amber's face, which gets security involved. And then Corey is like, hey, somebody go get Josh. Josh should be a part of this. There's people going to go get Josh who is playing pool in the other room. And Devin has the funniest confessional in this episode going like, no, do not get Josh. Nothing good can happen when Josh is brought into this, and things will just go from like 50 or 70 to 150. But I'll give it to Josh. Josh was actually level-headed at the beginning of this fight. He's trying to separate Amber and Esther. I know he's caught in the middle of everything and things are getting a little awkward, but then on the tail end of things, that's when Josh starts calling out Fessy. He starts calling out Fessy, saying that once the vet truce is over, he's gonna be thrown into the elimination over and over and over again. He's not gonna make it to a finals. Nobody likes him. And if he needs to be put in his place, Josh will do it. And Fessy gets on his high horse again and goes like, are you gonna take me out? Are you gonna take me out? You can't even take me out. He brings up Josh's elimination record of only being one win. Josh brings up that he hasn't won anything in this game, that yes, he made it to a finals, but he hasn't won jack. And that's when Fessy's like, at least I made it to a final. You can hardly win an elimination. Things are getting heated in this game. And then all of a sudden, Fessy then pushes Josh's face, which then after he pushes Josh's face away, he like moves his arm and he hits a security guard in the head. And that's where the episode ends. And I'll be honest, I did not see my TV guide, I did not see my menu to know that this was only going to be an hour. So when the credits started flashing at the bottom of the screen, when the climax of this fight of Fessy and Josh were going at each other, I was like, is it ending now? It cannot end now. Last week's episode, we knew exactly what was going to happen 45 minutes into that episode, yet we got the full 90 minutes. This week happens, we actually get some action, we actually get some fights, we get some actual tension in the game, and this episode ends in 60 minutes in the middle of this fight. But that is it. That's it for this episode of The Challenge. And now I turn it over to you. What'd you think about this episode? What'd you think about this week's mission? What'd you think about Kaycee and Nany's date? What'd you think about the kiss between Josh and Esther? What'd you think about the mission? And what do you think are going to be the consequences after this Josh and Fessy fight? I have a lot of speculation that's going to happen as we move to the preview of the next episode, where we see that there's going to be a hall brawl. TJ makes a house visit, and TJ even announces that nothing good happens when he makes a house call. What do you think is going to happen? Let me know that in the comment section below. And while you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back with more Challenge 37 content, especially with a tiny table talk. Leave any and all comments down below. I'll also be back very soon with more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.